Let's talk about 5 tips that you can use to make your debriefing more effective. Hey there, I want to talk to you today about 5 different tips to increase the effectiveness of your debriefing. Hi, I'm Paul Phrampus. I'm from the University of Pittsburgh. I'm the director of the Winter Institute for Simulation, Education, and Research. Many of you know us as WISER. We've been involved in faculty development for simulation training for many, many years. And it's part of my passion and the passion of WISER to help people get better at their efforts in simulation. There is no doubt that debriefing is an important part of simulation-based education efforts. Further, to do a good debriefing is not always so easy. Practice, self-reflection, and getting training can help dramatically. Seeking out help from experts and experienced people can be invaluable. Also, there are many resources in which to learn about debriefing. I encourage you to take advantage of them. And the good news is, a lot of them are free. So I've put together here 5 random tips in no particular order to help increase the effectiveness of your debriefing. Tip number 1. Know what the goals are. Be specific. Too many times, simulation scenarios are executed and the faculty member just kind of wings it during the debriefing. It is a far more effective strategy to be keenly aware of what the learning outcomes and goals were prior to the simulation. This will allow you to focus your thoughts and ideas on helping the participants get better during the simulation, which can then be carried forward into your debriefing efforts. If you're attempting to have the debriefing constrained to the learning objectives for the simulation, it's often easier to organize the information and get across the salient points that are needed to achieve the learning outcomes. It is particularly important to remember that you can't teach everything with every scenario. The participant brain can only take in or process so much information in one setting. In this case, I like to think of a sponge that's saturated completely and can't take in any more water. Tip number 2, have a framework or a structure in mind. Having a structure to your debriefing ahead of time, or perhaps adopting a model of debriefing, can help you significantly overcome some of the challenges and challenging parts of debriefing. Some of the challenges occur in the organization of the information. There are a number of debriefing methods out there for consideration of adoption. There is no reason to believe that one is better than the other. I highly recommend that you learn several models and become comfortable with them. What you'll find is some models work better than others in varying situations based on a number of factors, such as the experience and expertise of the debriefer, the subject matter that is the focus of the simulation, as well as the level of the learners. Involve all the learners. Tip number 3. If you're debriefing a group of students, a challenging task can be involving all the members of the team. Oftentimes, there will be 1 or 2 learners who engage in a dialogue with the debriefer, and without conscious effort and skill, it's easy to continue the dialogue and allow the other members of the team to feel partially marginalized. Oftentimes, this dialogue occurs with the person that was in the hot seat or the people that were in the hot seat. Making conscious effort during the debriefing to include all of the students is a meaningful way that can significantly increase the learner engagement. Further, if you're running multiple scenarios, I believe that engaging all the learners encourages them to pay close attention, even if they're in the observation role for the subsequent scenarios. Tip number 4, pull the ideas, don't push the facts. I like to think of debriefing as the time when we can explore the learner's thought processes. If we are transmitting information or pushing the facts to them, the situation can become more of a lecture. In fact, I see many novice debriefers break into song and start delivering mini lectures during attempts at debriefing. It's important to remember that when you are pushing facts to the participants, it limits the amount of assessment that you can do in terms of understanding the material and what you need to do to create deeper learning. So if you find yourself making many declarative statements, pull back and start to ask questions. Encourage critical thinking, self-reflection, and ensure you are helping to create linkages of what went well during the scenario and why it was good, along with allowing the participants to discover and identify what they could do differently if they were going to face a similar situation in real life, providing patient care, or another simulation. They all want to improve. Lastly, tip number 5. Create a summary of the take-home points. Novice debriefers tend to struggle with creating an adequate summary. Also, beware. This is another time during the debriefing that is at risk for turning into a mini lecture. It is helpful to have a list of the major take-home points associated with the scenario. You can have a note sheet. You can contextually adapt the summary to the performance that just occurred during the simulation, even if you have the summary points written out prior to the simulation occurring. It is important to remember that during the debriefing, many areas and many things can be covered and touched upon. Learners should be engaged to identify the major teaching points that they may experience in the simulation, as well as understanding how the simulation was relevant to helping them become better healthcare providers. So this was intended to be 5 random tips on how to improve effectiveness of your debriefing strategy. I hope you found this useful, and thanks a lot for watching. Now go forth and continue doing great job with your simulation and great jobs with your debriefing. Until next time, happy simulating.